Coach, we have a different kind of setup for the schedule this year. We play a team twice in one weekend. What do you see as kind of challenges that setup presents to you and the players playing the same team on back-to-back nights?
Well, there's two challenges. One is playing a team and then the next night adjusting and making adjustments and be able to maybe throw something different at them. So there's going to be a chess game going back and forth between night one and night two. And then the second part is the emotional part. You know, if one team wins, how do they come out mentally and emotionally the next night? Do they have the same energy, the same fire, or they just assume they're going to win? And I think sometimes when you lose, you learn more from losing. So it's going to create some interesting dynamics on that second night, mentally, how teams come out. So I see those are the two biggest things. As a coach, love it because you get to prepare for one night, then get to make adjustments the second night, and so it kind of makes it fun and interesting.
And then last week we learned that Nicole is opting out of the season. When was that decision made? What was the conversation like with her about that?
Well, it was a Zoom, and it was before we started practice. So January 1, somewhere around there.
How does that affect your team losing who was your primary backup setter?
Just with this COVID, everybody's got to be ready to go, and we're thankful that Ani is part of our program, and she's blossoming and doing a really good job. So it's just part of the deal, and everybody has to make their decisions for what's best for them, and so we support it. But pretty much she's it's like takes her out of everything. So it's an interesting dilemma, but we move on.
Brent Wagner.
Yeah, John, if you were playing today, who would be your starting middle blockers?
Don't know.
Who's graded out the best at the middle blocker position through the last few weeks?
It depends on the day. Very tight competition, very tight. Obviously, Lauren has proven herself, but there's days she's not our best middle in here, so it's a tough one. It'll probably be game time, when we get their decision, see how it goes the next couple of days in practice.
What are you looking for? If Lauren's the other one, what are you looking from that second starter at middle blocker? What are you looking most for from that position?
Well, middle blockers are paid to block and then get kills. So we're just, and I think who's going to come in and really bring a competitive fire to our side and help that part of it.
Andrew Ward.
Hey, John, I wanted to ask you about Jazz. How have you seen her kind of respond since the incident that happened 2-3 months ago?
She's been great. She's done everything she's supposed to do or was required to do. She's worked really hard. She's had some great discussions about what she's learned through all that, and she's had to go through a lot of I don't know if I call them consequences, but things that are required to move past something like that. So it's been pretty cool to have discussions with her about what she's learned and observed, and so it's a great learning experience. So she's approached it as good as anybody could ask.
How much did that kind of shed a light to the mental side of this whole pandemic, and how kind of that's put an extra stress on these athletes?
It's a very good example of that, and I've seen other things as well that we're not accustomed to seeing from all the layoffs, all the downtime, quarantined. It's been a very interesting year. But as of now, we're days away from playing, and so there's an excitement with that, and hopefully this will, this is why I don't know how much long you've been around, but you've heard these guys have been around a while. I talk about routines all the time. These athletes need routines, and when they're not in routines is when stuff that's not healthy or good for them happen.
Jacob Padilla.
You always say the best servers are going to play. Who have been your top few servers and how they've been grading out in practice?
We've got probably about 8 great servers right now, so we're debating what 6 are going to get to serve. So we're pretty pleased. We've become, in my opinion, a very good serving team, and there's days I feel sorry for our passers. So they've really embraced that. Like I said, we're a year older, and so we're excited about the level of serving that we have on our team, and like I said, we have about 8 that I'd feel comfortable all of them being in a match.
Do you feel like that's one of the areas you've improved the most from last season?
I think so. We're always stressing it, but it's a area that, again, it takes time to develop into a great server, and understand how to serve and be low error and really put pressure on other teams. So we've been working hard on it, and they've embraced it. And I think they're smart enough to understand there's a lot of great hitters in our conference, and one way you can slow them down is to serve tough and get them out of system.
Beth Merrigan.
Coach, can you talk to us about Indiana and what you're expecting to see from them and what challenges they may pose?
Indiana graduated a majority of their team. There's only 2 players that played last year that I know of, Emily Fitzner, the setter, and Brianna Edwards, the outside. Other than that, it's a whole new team. So we're not spending a whole lot of time worrying about Indiana right now. We're just trying to fine-tune our race car of Nebraska volleyball.
Lincoln Arneal.
Coach,
you can ask me that question after the first night, then I'll be able to give more information.
Do you have to worry about installing a sense of urgency with the players, because you're not only starting the season, but you're starting the conference season? Is there any urgency that needs to go with that?
That talk was last week, and just trying to frame their minds on the sense of urgency in practice every day. So they've been doing great with it, and I think the way we train and how the level in our gym, you pretty much have to have a sense of urgency, or if you want to be successful and have any success in our gym.
And then jumping back to the Jazz topic, will her on-court availability be impacted by her situation at all?
No.
Thank you.
Brent Wagner.
Yeah, with Lexi's son, she has the injury her first year. She comes back, gets the All-American last season. What do you want from Lexi? What are all the different things that Lexi can do to take this next step this season for you?
Well, I think her biggest challenge, or the thing we're asking from her, is one, to be a complete player, have as much pride in making a great pass as a great kill. She can impact the match in so many ways, blocking, hitting, serving, defensively. So, and then, the question is, can you do that night after night after night and day after day? And so that's been her challenge, and she can be one of the strongest players in the Big Ten Conference when she's dialed in and getting after it. So she's worked hard. She improved the most in our performance index testing, which was really, really pleasing to see that. So she's worked really hard to get stronger, and now it's mentally competing point after point at a high level, and that's that's what all the players that come through this program, that's what they're striving for, is can you do it better and longer each year that you're here.
Is it just the same two captains from last season, or did you add captains?
Same
for
two
this season?
captains.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle Vopel, ESPN.
Yeah, Coach Cook, I was just wondering if you could clarify something for me. I know that in volleyball, sometimes the incoming recruits join the programs, for spring semester, but are they allowed to play this year? Because we're seeing that in men's and women's basketball. We're seeing freshmen, or I say 2021 recruits coming in early, if you will, and actually allowed to play. Is that allowed in volleyball? Because I've heard it wasn't. And if that's the case, why is that different than basketball?
So that is a great question, and you'll need to. I'll give you the what they're allowed to do is volleyball is not allowed to play. Basketball is. So that would be a question that you would direct to the NCAA, because it's and I guess they're assuming that because we're a fall sport, they're not allowing incoming freshmen to play that come in mid-year, which is very common in volleyball, and and it's a decision that's made about 2 years out for them to get academically eligible. So why we're not allowed to do it and why basketball is makes no sense to me.
Okay, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either, but I wanted to see if I was right about that. So I'll see if the NCAA has an answer to that, but it doesn't seem very fair, actually, between the two sports.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great opinion piece by you that, and again, it's not just affecting volleyball, it's other sports, but basketball is allowed to do it. And, we have different rules for basketball in the Big Ten, too. They're allowed to play out of conference. There's different rules. So interesting.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
One more question from Lincoln Arneal and one from Brent Wagner. Lincoln?
Coach, speaking of those incoming freshmen, what have you seen from them in practice so far, and how have they acclimated to the college volleyball world in the month or so that you've had them, not even?
Yeah, they've only been in our team practice a couple times, but they did great. We've been training them outside of our team because one, they weren't conditioned to go for a 3-hour practice or 2 days. Second of all, we want to make sure we're incorporating them into where they're not going to get in the way or risk injury. So we're slowly working them in, but they've done great. They're lifting 4 times a week. They're in all the meetings and everything. They will travel with us. But as Michelle pointed out, they're not allowed to play. But we asked for a waiver for them to be able to travel because, what's better for them to be with us or sitting in the in campus in the dorms on a weekend? I mean, if they're with us during the week, they're a risk to spread COVID. So we fought hard to have them travel with us, and thankfully we got that. So, but they've done great. They're awesome.
Was that a Big Ten or NCAA waiver that you used?
I don't know. Our compliance people, we fought for that, and we fought for them to be eligible to play. But I don't know how that went, if that was a Big Ten or an NCAA.
Thank you.
Brent Wagner?
I guess you have 14 players or whatever. How many cases among your team would force a match to be postponed?
Again, Brent, they had a meeting yesterday. I was not on that call because it was during practice. Lindsay was on it, and I have not discussed that with her. We still have not got the game management manual. So once I get that, I'll have a better feel of how that works. But it still has not been in our hands yet. She was in a call yesterday, and I haven't followed up with her yet on what that is.
Do you feel good about your situation for being able to play this weekend?
I mean, I just take it one day at a time, and and I look at the other teams. Women's basketball is doing great. They're handling it really well. They're staying healthy. And men's basketball, is complete opposite. So it just makes you wonder, I'm just trying to think of everything we possibly can do to protect our players, keep them safe, and just trying to learn from those teams and take it one day at a time. That's kind of how we got to approach it. And because, our schedule's constantly changing. We have to work around testing times. Our Big Ten schedule is already changed yesterday. There's going to be some more additions to that or changes on that. So they're changing match times. So you just got to you're going to go stir crazy if you're thinking ahead of, except for the day that you're involved in right now.